Hi there, it's Jan from JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to the channel. I'm back with another Come Stamp With Me project today. So through the month of September I've gone to focus a little bit more on stamping for my Tuesday videos. So yeah, still techniques involved in there but based around stamping. And today we're going to do a little bit of heat resist, which I love doing, and bringing my oxide inks. I've not used them for a little while. So this is the design that we're going to make, and very simple. Again, I've kept it kind of simple because I wanted to focus on the technique itself. So I'm going to create a panel with the colour and the embossing in, and then we're going to die cut and then pop the card together. So just a 7x5 design today, and I've just got my insert inside there just to link it to the outside. And again, as I say, really simple. So let's get into the tutorial. I'll show you how I actually made it. So we'll pop that one to one side for a second. The first thing I'm going to do is just bring in my craft mat here just to protect the surface, and we're going to bring in a few bits and pieces. So I've got my Distress Oxides, and I'm just going to change up the colour scheme slightly. This one had warm tones with the yellow, the green and the orange, so I've actually kept the yellow and the green, but I'm going to pop a blue in here today instead of the orange, just to give a slight difference and give you an option on colour scheme there, just working out which colours go together. And then this one was accessorized with a little bit of gold glitter card, and I'm going to use the silver on there today to pick out that blue being a little bit more of a cool tone. So I've got my inks and I've got my blending brushes at the ready for my inks, but just before we do the ink side of it, I want to do a little bit of stamping to create that resist technique. So I have got a piece of smooth surface white cardstock. Doesn't really matter what size it is as long as it's big enough to die cut the pieces out that you want. So I've just taken a piece out of my scrap box, and the first thing we're going to do is ink this up with, and this, I've got a text stamp here. This is an old Creative Expressions one, and it's called French Script. No idea what it says. I've had this a little while now, but I do like this one. It gives a really nice print. It's actually a rubber stamp, which I don't use very often anymore, but it does give a really nice impression. So what we're going to do is we're going to stamp that a couple of times across here in a clear embossing ink. Okay, I'm going to use my Versamark, and then we're going to add some white embossing powder to it. So I'm just going to get that bit ready. I need to stock up on my embossing powders. I use them and I've not got a massive amount left there. So we'll get that one ready to go. Okay, I have got my stamping platform down here at the side of me. And in fact, yeah, we'll use the stamping platform. So I'm going to go back to my Tim Holtz platform today, purely because it's got the attachment to convert it to the rubber. So let's just get rid of the bits that I had left in there. There's an old stamp in there which I need to put away, and I'm going to turn it round now so that we've got the rubber stamp in place. Okay, so cardstock's going to go in here. All right, I'm going to pop the magnets at the bottom for a second. I'm actually going to pull this over a little bit so that we can stamp off the edge of that cardstock, because the stamp's a little bit wider than the actual card there. So we'll take my cover off, and I've got a little arrow which shows me the direction of the script there. So we're just going to pop this right up at the top here like so. Pick that up with the door to the stamp positioner there, and then just before I start stamping, I'm going to bring in my little anti-static pad here which has got powder in. If you don't have one of these, you can use talc, or you can use corn. I know some people use corn flour or cornstarch, but basically all it does is remove any static from your cardstock. So where you've handled it with your fingers, if you've got any oils in your fingers, if you've used hand cream or anything like that, it just gets rid of it so that we get the embossing powder to stick where we want it. Otherwise it has a habit of sticking to pretty much everything. I'm just going to put that, I need to put that stamp somewhere safe so that I don't lose it. There we go. Right, so we're good to go now. Make sure that's nice and straight there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my not so clean, I do try my best, but it's not perfect, my ink there. And we're going to apply a good generous coating of sticky ink to that stamp on that side there. We can always restamp if we need to, but it is only background work, so I'm not too bothered if it's not perfect. And then I'm going to bring in my stamp press tool there and just give it a good press onto the cardstock. Okay, and then I'm going to bring this back, and I do like to put my embossing powder on so that I can see where I've embossed. I know some people do all the stamping first, so all I'm going to do is put my white embossing powder over here, and then we will get that first part covered. Need a bigger container, Jan, I think. You always end up with it everywhere. There we go, and then a little bit on that corner. And tap off the excess there. As I say, I always end up with it everywhere. And now that I can see where that bit is, I can pop this back in, and I'm going to leave these right down at the bottom because there should be room to actually move this down now and stamp on that section beneath it there. I think we're good there. So I'm going to do exactly the same. We're going to add that sticky ink again. And then when we've done this a second time, we'll add some heat to melt that white powder then. So that's my inking done there. I'm going to press this one down, just give it a good, whoops, press down. Get that ink transferred. And then we'll add some more of the white powder. So I can move the stamp press out of the way, and I will clean my stamp up afterwards. And then I'm just going to bring this one and try and add some more powder without it going everywhere. There we go. And then just turn it round to do this side. Trying not to catch where I've already put my powder. Definitely need some bigger pots, I think. And I think that looks pretty well covered. I can just see here where I've got that nice opaque covering of the powder there. As I say, I'm not too worried if it's not a perfect cover because it is literally a background, and I can choose whereabouts I'm actually going to put my die cuts on. So I'm just going to clean that off here now. I've got a little bit of the embossing powder hanging about there. Bring this back in, and I'm going to bring in my heat tool. Just warm that up to temperature now before I pop it on the card. Try and minimise the warping because the heat does warp the card, but we are going to pass this piece through our die cutting machine, so it will help straighten it out. Now I appreciate that you can't actually see an awful lot yet, and you maybe won't until I start adding the ink. But all I'm going to do now is just hover over that embossing powder and heat it until it turns nice and white and shiny there. And just see it's starting to move now. So it's just a case of chasing it across the design. And this should show up a little bit better. So I hope you've been enjoying the stamping videos a little bit more. This is where I started my crafting journey as a stamper. It's the very first thing that I started doing when I started crafting, and still to this day I still love anything to do with stamps and inks colour, anything like that. So I love colouring in. You know that my go-to is often my alcohol markers. If I'm making backgrounds, my go-to is usually the Distress Oxide colours. So yeah, let me know what your favourite part of crafting is down in the comments below. I know a lot of people focus on the die cutting. So again, I'm just going to turn that round and finish that last bit. Make sure that all the powder's melted. And then we just need to leave it a second or two to dry before I apply that ink. And then we're just going to create a nice sort of abstract background with those colours. I think that's just about caught it all there. And then I'm just going to flip it over and give it a little tiny bit of heat on the back. It does help straighten the card out again a little bit. And that's my embossing finish there. So we'll move the heat tool out of the way there. And again, I think you'll probably just be able to pick that up on the camera now where it's got that white on white. So I'll just give that a second to cool off, and then we'll take off any excess powder from that anti-static just gently, and then we can bring in our inks. So I'm going to start with the yellow, which is probably the lightest of those three inks, and get my yellow blending brush there. I'll just bring in my little palette here because it does stop things slipping around a little bit. So this one is Squeezed Lemonade, which is a nice, what I call a true yellow. And I'm going to pick up some of the ink there, tap off any excess, and then it doesn't matter where this goes. All I want to do is create a blend of these three colours. So I'm just going to pick some spots out and add those inks. We'll do one over here. I tend to sort of go in threes, and then I can always add extra in and blend it back in when I've finished. And then we'll do a little bit down at the bottom here. So that's my Squeezed Lemonades down there. As I say, we can always come back in and blend a little bit more if we need to. Then I'm going to bring in the green. So this one is Twisted Citron, one of my favourite greens here. And again, pick up some of that ink, and we'll add some of this into the mix. I'm going to bring, bearing in mind that the green and the yellow do blend together nicely because they are next to each other on the rainbow, along with the green, and then into the blue will as well. So bear that in mind when you're blending colours, that if they're next to each other on the rainbow, they'll always blend nicely one into the other. Whereas if you start looking at, you know, complementary colours and things like that, there is a chance that you may end up with some sort of brown shades. So I'm just leaving a couple of spaces there for some of that turquoise, that blue. So that's my green finish. That's the Twisted Citron. And then I'm going to bring in, I've got Salvage Patina, and it's a turquoisey blue, this one, which will fit in nice with those colours that I've already chosen. It's one of my favourite colour combinations, actually, this. When I'm not working with the pinks, of course, I do like to use these three as a combination. So again, we're just going to bring this one in and fill those gaps in like so. And at the moment it does seem as if it's covering up that white embossing powder, but in a second when we buff it up, it'll take the ink away. It resists the ink. So I am just going to grab a little bit of tape here so that I'm not picking the ink back up off here with my fingers, and fill in that last section here. And I'm getting a slightly different shade of green here where the turquoise is overlapping the yellow, because of course a blue and a yellow make a green. So it's almost adding in another shade of that same colour family there. And if you are interested in colours and how they work, I do have a whole series on my channel of colour theory videos, which I did when I first started the channel. And those are in a playlist, so you can find them quite easily if that's something that you're interested in. So we've got that done now. And then what I'm going to do is just take my cloth and very simply take it over the top of the embossed area, and if I do half of it and just show you the difference there between that lovely white at this side as opposed to where it's got the ink settled on top of it. So yeah, just use a nice soft cloth and any ink that's sat on top of that embossing will come away, purely because of that resist technique in there. And I love this. I just think it makes a really nice background, especially with the white embossing powder. So I'll just clean up the mat while we're there. And then because my inks react with water, we are going to add a little bit of splatter on here as well, because I can. So I've actually got some, use the smaller brush. I've got some water in front of me actually, so I'll use that there. I'm just going to take my brush there, just a small brush, and all the way over the top add some splatters there, and this will just start that ink reacting and we'll get a little bit more definition in the background there. The longer you leave that, the more definition you'll get, but I am actually just going to take my towel now, my paper towel, and you can see here where it's sort of lifting those little water splashes, and you get that lovely, it never ceases to amaze me, this. I can do it over and over again, where you've got this lovely sort of image here, and then those little areas, those little puddles there where it's actually starting to bleach out the background. So that's my background piece done. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to cut some shapes out of here, and I'm going to go for the stars. So just before I run this through my machine, this is not wet as such, but where I've just splattered the water, I'm just going to give it a tiny little blast and make sure that there aren't any really damp areas on that piece of card. And then what I did is I had a look through my nesting dies. I have a set of nesting stars, and I've chosen 3 that I wanted to work with. One of them's now evading me. Come out, there we go. I'll bring that back in a second. But yeah, I've got a whole set of these going right up to the larger sizes there. So I've just taken 3 out of here that I want to use, 3 different sizes. And what we're going to do now is we're going to position these on here so that we've got a little bit of all 3 colours in each one. And that's why I went for the slightly bigger piece of cardstock to start with, because then you can pop this down where you want it to go with regards to the design. So on this one, I'm going to go for, I want to make sure that I've got the text in there as well. So this one's going to go, and I'm just bearing in mind how they're going to go on my card, because I want the text to be reasonably straight. So I've got a bit of the yellow, bit of the green, bit of the turquoise. I'm happy with that one. I'm going to stick that one down here. And then this one's going to tip slightly this way. So again, I want to have a bit of all 3 of those colours on there. So I think we'll pop that one just there. And the little one is going to tip right over this way. So again, we'll take it down. And as long as those dies are not overlapping, we're good to go. And then I'm actually going to bring in my plates for my Gemini, pop these on here, and I'm just going to pass those through my die cutting machine, which, as you guys know, is just behind me on my my desk behind me. So I'll be back in a second. And we've got those die cut through now. It's just an outline shape, nice and simple. Move the plates out of the way, and we can press those stars out now, ready to use. So we've got our medium size, our large, and our smaller one. So we can take those off now And I will save this, you know, this is great for adding, you know, I've got some more space here that I can use next time, or for another card, or if I wanted to create a sentiment out of it or anything like that, or even just a small section of it for a background. You know, you only need a little strip of something. So it may be that I just take a, you know, a section out of here to work with on a card, or a snippet across the top. And I've got the one that I use. This is the one that I did on the original design. You can see with those oranges in there. So exactly the same process. And these will go into my scrap box now, so that I've got them there for future use if I need them. But we've actually got the ones that we need here. So this one is sort of going to face a little bit that way. And then we're going to have this one coming a little bit more that way, so that I've got the text running pretty straight, and then this one at the bottom like so. All right, so let's build up our card background. Again, I've kept it very simple, so there's nothing too fancy. I've got some mats and layers, and we'll pop that together. So I'm going to pop those to one side. I've got my standard 7x5 card blank, which is from one of my craft boxes. I've got a matte layer. I stayed with the green because this was the colour that I'd used on the original card, and this is just a piece of double-sided pearlescent card, 6 1/8 by 4 1/8, and this is going to be my matte layer. I've got quite a generous border on this one. I like that nice border around it. And then my background piece is just another piece of smooth cardstock here, and that's just 1/8 of an inch smaller. So this one measures 6 by 4 inches. And then what I did was take my scoreboard, and I just wanted a little bit of detail. There's not a lot of it showing, but I've actually popped some score lines in from 1.5 inches at every 1/4 of an inch there. Sorry, every 1/8 of an inch. And I've put 5 lines in up to the 2-inch section. So again, you know, they're not easy to see, and there's not a lot of it showing. It's just that little bit of extra detail in the background to the card that we're going to put those stars on. So we're going to pop this one on here like so, and I'm going to use my tape runner, I think, for that, because it's a pearlescent card. I'm just going to use my tape runner to adhere those together like so. And I've got the almost the deboss side of those lines showing. The ridge side is on this side, but because I'm going to tack things over the top, I've actually used the deboss side for the front. And then we're just going to pop that on here so that we've got a nice border around it. And it is just a tiny, tiny, skinny little border showing like so. And then that's our background to go on our card. So now that we've got that in the background, I'm going to bring the all-purpose back in. Even though it's on the reverse here on that pearlescent card, there's not much chance of that doing any damage now in the background. And then this one's just going to stick central on the front of the card there. Okay, and then we need to decide what we're going to do with our stars. So let me just grab some of my foam pads, and I'm going to pop these, I'm going to pop the back one flat. So this is actually going to go on flat, and I'm going to use my acrylic glue for this one, purely because it's got that fine tip applicator on, and I can get a little bit more precision with the glue. So the back one's going down flat there, and I'm going to keep that text reasonably straight and go for about there, I think. And then I'm going to bring the other two up onto some foam. So I'll just pop the lid back on that for a second. And this one's going to go across here like so. So my foam pads want to be more along that right hand side like so. And then I'm just going to cut one in half again to pop some under that other edge. So we want a little bit under this side and a little bit under this side. And then once we remove the backing off here, we can position this one. So just get rid of those. So again, making sure that that text the right way. And again, I'm just going to tilt this one slightly so that my text is pretty much running in the same direction. And then we're going to do the same with the little one. Now again, because it's a smaller one, I'm just going to trim my foam pads down so that I can position them a little bit better there. In fact, I can probably take that one down again. I've started buying the larger size because you can always cut something down, whereas when you've got those little ones, it does seem to take forever to get all the backs off them. So that one's in place now. And then I'm just going to pop one in there, probably a bit overkill with the adhesive, but then I do tend to put on more than I need. I know some people would have just popped one in the middle of there, but I do like it all to be supported. So take the release paper off those, and we're going to pop this one over this side here. And again, keeping that text reasonably straight there. I'm just going to tip it slightly because I want that point to pop out here at this side, and we're going to go for there. So I've got the darker colour over the lighter colour over the darker colour, and we've got that nice arrangement going on there. And then the rest of the details in here, let me just move those stars out of the way now. I took one of my word dies which just says hello, and I've cut that out of black now so that we've got a real nice contrast, and I've cut it 3 times just to stack it to give it a little bit of dimension, and this is going to go right across the middle here. And then I've got a sub-sentiment that says wishing you joy, so we're going to pop them along like so. This one might need a little bit of support underneath it. I might just be able to bridge it from one side to the other. And then I've cut my extra stars this time in silver just to match those cool tones. The last one I did in a pale ivory, but this time I've gone with the silver. And then of course I've got some black pearls just to tie in all the black there that we're going to add as extra decoration. So let's have a look. We're going to pop the hello, and I just want a little bit of glue on the bottom of the H and the bottom of the O there, and this is going to bridge between the 2 stars there. If you want to put some support under the middle, you can add some foam tape under the back of there. And then just while that one's adhering, I'm going to pop the block on there for a second, and then we're going to pop these silver glitter card ones out and apply a little bit of glitter to those as well. Glitter, a bit of glue to those, and I just wanted some extra detail on there as well. So again, I've got a small one, and the slightly larger one is from the same nesting set, but that is the smallest in that set. So I just wanted a little dinky one. So this is just a tiny little star die. Doesn't have the stitch detail on, but I'm not worried at all about that. It can just be an accent. So we've got those on there like so, and then I'm going to put some glue on the back of here, and then this one's going to sit across the rest of the star like so. So just making sure that it's running reasonably straight there, and it's parallel with the bottom of the card. And then the last thing that I want to do, of course, is just add a few gems, and I'm going to bring those up and through the sentiment and out the other side there. So I'm going to start off the stars here with number 1, then I'm going to come up into that design, across the top, and sort of out the other side there. And then I'll just bring in my little gem one there. And I've got a small one into a medium one. I'm going to put another small one up at the top there, medium one in here, and a small one up at the top. And it just ties all that black work together now. If you really want a bold finish, you could do your matte layer in black as well. But it's just bringing everything together. And I love that deep, you know, the black on there with the light colours behind it. I think it looks really, really nice. I've got a little bit of something on the top there. I'm not sure what that is, but it's possibly off my fingers. But that's my design finish for today, using that resist technique on my stamping there. And then we've added the colour, used the die cut. So we've got a little bit of everything going on there as far as techniques are concerned. You can just see, I don't know whether the camera's just picking up that little bit of detail that we did with the embossing tool, just to add a bit of extra detail. You could have gone across, it would have looked nice with a set across this way as well. So that was the original one, which had the warmer tones in. So that was the yellow, the green, and I think it was spiced marmalade that I used on this one. And then this one has been done with the same two, the yellow and the green. And then I added salvage patina as my turquoise in there. So let me know in the comments which one you like best. Do you prefer the warmer tones or the cooler tones? You know, which one works for you? Are you going to try this? And don't forget to let me know what's your favourite part of paper crafting. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Please consider giving it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and I'll be back very, very soon with another tutorial for you. So I'll see you soon. Bye bye now.